Namaskar and welcome to the Navratri Satsang 2024. Today we are on day 3. So let us start. By the Guru's grace and the will of Sri Krishna, we have all assembled for this Navratri Satsang. May we have their guidance to be able to learn and adopt the teachings from the lives of our great Acharyas to progress on the path of our sadhana. Let us recite the Guru Parampara. लक्ष्मीनाथ समारंभां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वय भट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखर योगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकालयतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम्. Let us offer obeisances at the lotus feet of Swami Ramanuja. Yo nityamachyutapadambuja yukma rukma vyamohatastaditarani trinaya mene asmadguror bhagavatosya dayaika sindho Ramanujasya charanau sharanam prapadye. So today we are going to talk about one of the acharyas of Swami Ramanuja. So this is the Acharya who is known as Periyanambi. Actually, Swami Ramanuja had 5 Acharyas who guided him. And one of those, the foremost among those, the first person who initiated Swami Ramanuja into the Vaishnava fold is this person called as Periyanambi. So let us offer obeisances to him. Kamalapati Kalyana Gunamrita Nishevaya Purna Kamaya Satatam Purnaya Mahate Namaha. So I offer my salutations to the great Purnacharya who constantly finds the complete satisfaction of all his desires by partaking of the nectar of the Kalyana Gunas of Lord Kamalapati. There is another shloka also, but it is less commonly used. Okay. Now, this Acharya was born in Srirangam in the year 1997, and he was the disciple of Yamunacharya and the Acharya of Ramanujacharya. He is also known by the other names as Mahapurnar, Parankushadasar, and Purnacharya. So this Acharya has a very major role in the entire life of Swami Ramanuja. Actually, if you know the life history of Swami Ramanuja, he was studying under an Advaiti scholar called Yadava Prakasha in Kanchipuram. And there was a lot of tussle always because the way that the Advaitic scholar was interpreting the Shastras was one way, and Swami Ramanuja always had another viewpoint to it, which was of a different manner. So at one point of time, however, it became very clear that they could not go along anymore. So Yadav Prakasha sent him away. And Swami Ramanuja said, henceforth, I'm not going to study under him. So what he did was, he kind of kept himself under the tutelage of one of the Archakas who in the Kanchipuram temple, who was serving Lord Varadaraja with the Chamara Seva. So that person was Tirukachinambi. Now, at one point of time, Swami Ramanuja had lot of confusions in his mind about whether the path he was following is correct, what he should do, and he wanted some clarifications. So now this Tirukachinambi, who was always serving the Lord, it was very well known, and he was reputed to be the person with whom the Lord himself would speak. So you can imagine how great his Mahima was, right? So the Lord would speak to Tirukachinambi. So one day, Ramanuja went to Tirukachinambi and he said, I have some doubts in my mind. I have some questions. Can you please talk to the Lord and get it clarified for me? Tirukachinambi said, yes, okay, fine. Next day, when he went and stood in front of the Lord himself gave 6 tattvas, and they are called as the Vartai in Tamil. Vartai means what has been the instructions or what has been told, the commandments, right, of the Lord, what the Lord said, the 6 things that he said. Now, there are many different things, and all of them are related to whatever is the philosophy and the basis of Vishishtadvaita system of spiritual practice. In that, the sixth point that was told by Lord Varadaraja was Purnacharya Samashrayaha, except Purnacharya, Mahapurna, Periyanambi, as your Acharya. Now, this is indeed a very unique situation. You know what? First thing is, Swami Ramanuja never told the questions in his mind to Tirukachinambi. Tirukachinambi went and stood in front of the Lord. The Lord gave these answers to the questions which were in Ramanuja's mind. Tirukachinambi just heard all these answers and he came and he narrated all what he had heard from the Lord to Ramanuja. So that is the first thing, that without asking the questions, the Lord knew which were the questions in the mind of Ramanuja and the answers were given accordingly. The most important thing here is, normally we say that in spiritual practice, we need a guru, right? We need some acharya who is going to guide us further. And it is the acharya who teaches us the path to seek out the Lord. But here we have the unique reverse situation where the Lord himself is instructing that take this person as your acharya. So if the Lord himself has to open his mouth and say, take this person as your acharya, then how great should that acharya be, isn't it? And as we see further about the events in his life, we will realize what was the greatness of Periyanambi. So whether we are saying Mahapurna or we are saying Purnacharya, we mean Periyanambi. Right? Okay. Now, there were two situations when this Periyanambi came into contact with Ramanuja. Periyanambi's guru, Acharya, who was Yamunacharya. Many places he is also referred to as Alavandar, but it will be easier for us to remember Yamunacharya. So Yamunacharya was the Acharya. He had 5 Shishyas. He had many, out of them prominent were 5. And one of those was this Periyanambi. So this Yamunacharya had wanted that Ramanuja should come into the Sri Vaishnava fold and that he is the right person to take the Sampradaya ahead. He wanted him to be his Shishya and carry forward the Sampradaya. So he had sent this Periyanambi to Kanchipuram. Yamunacharya was in Srirangam. He had sent Periyanambi to Kanchipuram to bring Ramanuja. Now, once Periyanambi reached there, he recited a shloka from the stotra called Stotra Ratna, composed by Yamunacharya. And seeing this, hearing this, Ramanuja was totally, spellbound, because whatever philosophy he had a firm belief in, whatever his mind and heart were leaning towards, that was exactly the sentiment which was expressed in that shloka. So he asked Periyanambi, whose verses are you singing? Who is the composer of this? And then Periyanambi told him that these are the shlokas of Yamunacharya, my Acharya, and he has sent me here to take you to Srirangam. At that very moment, Ramanuja left everything and he followed Periyanambi. However, unfortunately, before they could reach Srirangam itself, a short distance away, Yamunacharya had already shed this mortal coil. He had attained Sri Vaikuntha. Ramanuja was totally upset that, I was not able to see him and take Upadesha from him. And with that upset mind, he didn't even visit the Lord at Srirangam. He just went back to Kanchipuram. Now, after the passing away of Yamunacharya, all these Shishyas, they continued their studies and all that things were going on. But again, after about 1 year passed, it was decided that now we cannot go ahead without somebody to guide us and lead us. We need an Acharya who is going to take our Sampradaya ahead. And they remembered that it was Yamunacharya's wish that Ramanuja should be the leader. So at that point of time, inspired by this divine thought and with all the discussions among all these, Guru brothers, the Shishyas who were, Shishyas of Alavandar, Periyanambi, again, he was inspired and he started walking towards Kanchipuram. At the same time, there in Kanchipuram, Ramanuja had got the commandment from Lord Varada, saying that seek Purnacharya Periyanambi as your Acharya. So from Kanchipuram, Ramanuja started on his journey to reach Srirangam. From Srirangam, Periyanambi started on his journey to reach Kanchipuram. Incidentally, coincidentally, by the grace of the Lord, both of them met at this place called Madhurantakam. There's a very beautiful Rama temple there. And that temple is called as Erikata Ramar temple. We have talked about it in some previous satsang where I mentioned the story behind this. We don't have time to go into that again now. But if you remember, there was a British colonel who had mocked the people, saying that, will your deities come and protect this place from the floods? And indeed, that night when it rained heavily, two men with bow and arrow were seen guarding that tank and preventing it from flooding over. So that temple, this Madhurantakam, right? So at this place, both of them met. And it was at this place that, as you can see in the picture, Periyanambi is, branding Ramanuja with the chinha of the Shankha and the Chakra, which is a part of the ritual of the rite which is performed called Pancha Samskaram. It is the rite of initiation of every person who is born into a Sri Vaishnava family or born into any other person, once into any other status. It does not matter what is the caste of the person, what is the gender of the person, what is the age of the person, but somebody who has accepted that Lord Sriman Narayana is the Supreme Lord and wants to continue the rest of his life in worship of that Lord. The one person who decides that surrendering to the Lord's feet, performing Sharanagati, is the only goal of my life, and the Lord will take me to moksha. Somebody who has this bhava, irrespective of what caste, gender, age, and all other factors, that person is initiated into the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya by performing this ritual called as Panchasamskara. So, this Panchasamskara, which is the most important ritual, was performed for Ramanuja by Periyanambi at this place called Madhurantakam. Now, this Periyanambi was so full of humility, he did not have any trace of ego that he is going to be the Acharya for the person who is considered as the one who will lead the Sampradaya ahead. In fact, at the time when he was doing the Panchasamskara to Ramanuja, he told him, I am doing Panchasamskara to you, but this is under the guidance, this is as per the instructions of my Acharya, Yamunacharya. So don't think that I am your Acharya. Yamunacharya is your Acharya. What can we learn from this? This bhava, in fact, it is told in the Shastra that every time anybody who has someone as their Shishya should not look upon that Shishya as my Shishya, but rather should look upon that person as the Shishya of my Acharya. This is the way in which one learns to forego the sense of ownership, to forego the sense of doership, to give up this mamakara and ahankara and the kartrutva buddhi. That is what every Acharya should be like. They should not feel that these are my disciples. Rather, they should feel these are the disciples of my Acharya. So I am nobody in the picture. I am just a facilitator who has initiated him under the instructions of my Acharya. That was the great nishtha to his Acharya that Periyanambi had. And that was the total humility and lack of ego that he showed us. Now, after this incident, what happened was, and another interesting thing I did not mention previously is that when they met at Madhurantakam, actually Periyanambi told Ramanuja that anyway we are very close to Kanchi. Let us go to Kanchipuram and in the presence of Lord Varadaraja itself, let us do your Panchasamskara. At that time, Ramanuja told him that although we may be close by, but nobody can predict what is going to happen in the next moment. So I don't want to wait anymore. Already at that time, when I wanted to meet Yamunacharya, I missed the chance because of him shedding his mortal body. Now I don't want to take a chance again of waiting for anything. At this very moment, we are in this auspicious location. You please do my Panchasamskara here itself. At any moment, just like lightning can strike something and burn it to ashes, anything can happen. So I don't want to take that risk. Please initiate me here itself. And there itself, in that Madhurantakam, the initiation was done. Now, after this happened, Ramanuja and Periyanambi, both of them went to Kanchipuram. And Ramanuja invited this Periyanambi and his wife, they had both traveled and come, to live next door to him. So they began living together next to each other. Now, all the time, Periyanambi used to teach Ramanuja about all the Alvar's writings, all the Alvar's compositions. See, if you remember, I said that Ramanuja had already studied under that Advaiti person. Now, whatever he had studied there, he already knew whatever is told in the Samskrita Veda. So that Vedanta part he already knew. And many times people say that Vedanta is very dry and Vedanta is very intellectual. There is no scope there for emotion and feeling. But the same teachings which are there in the Vedanta, in the Samskrita Veda, are conveyed with a lot of emotion, with a lot of bhava through the writings of the Alvars. Because the Alvars were not scholars, they were bhaktas. So somebody who is a scholar is given to this dry kind of intellectual, explanations. But somebody who is a bhakta and who is steeped in bhakti, who has immense pouring out of love for the Lord, that person will talk the same concepts, but from the emotional and bhava and bhakti point of view. So it was important for Ramanuja to learn that. That is why when they started living in Kanchipuram, this Periyanambi started teaching him about all those teachings which are there in the Alvar's works. Now, at that point of time, what happened is, although Ramanuja himself had very progressive ideas, his wife, unfortunately, was a very orthodox kind of lady. She used to follow this concept of muddy and shaucha and cleanliness, and we are Brahmanas, they are not Brahmanas, because Periyanambi was not belonging to the Brahmana category. So what happened was, one day when she was at the well and she was drawing water, this Periyanambi's wife had also come there. She also was drawing water from the well into her vessel. At that point of time, by mistake, some few drops of water from her vessel fell into Ramanuja's wife's vessel. And she was totally angry on her. And she talked very rudely. She said, "How can you behave like this? Don't you know the rules of Achara and all that? How can you defile our water like this?" And all this. So that Periyanambi's wife kept quiet. She just went and reported it later to her husband. So coming, and they had many incidents like this, small, but this was like the final straw. So then Periyanambi said that if we continue to live here, we will be the cause of conflict between Ramanuja and his wife. So let us not stay here. And without telling Ramanuja, they just quietly packed their things and they went back to Srirangam. So there you can see what kind of a calmness with which Periyanambi accepted even the bad behavior of Ramanuja's wife. Next, he always, see, he is the Acharya, right? And he can order Ramanuja to do whatever he wants. But he never did that. In fact, he always behaved in many situations as if Ramanuja is the Acharya and he is the Shishya. There was one occasion when there was a huge procession and Swami Ramanuja was at the head of it. All the sannyasis, so many grihastha Shishyas, everybody was walking along with him. And like this, one big procession of hundreds of people was walking and going. You don't know what, God knows what struck this Periyanambi. He came from the opposite direction, and when he saw this great procession, what moved him, we don't know, but he fell on the ground and he saluted Swami Ramanuja. He offered prostrations, he offered his obeisance, he did namaskara for Swami Ramanuja. Now, this is unheard of, isn't it? It's always the Shishya who should do namaskar for the Guru, not the Guru to do namaskar for his Shishya. Now, Swami Ramanuja also, what he did not react in any way. He just was quiet like that. He stood for a moment. Once his Acharya had finished doing namaskara, he just did not acknowledge, he did not say anything, and he just quietly passed by and went away. The other Shishyas who were around, right, all the other sannyasis, all the other Shishyas who were there, they were very curious about this peculiar event. So they asked Periyanambi first, well, how could you do something like that? He is your Shishya. Why did you prostrate before him? So he said, no, I don't know what happened. When I saw him coming like that with all of you behind him and he was leading you with such glory, suddenly I saw in him the murti of my Guru, my Acharya, Yamunacharya. And I was so moved. I thought it is like my Yamunacharya only walking and coming on the road. And that is why I fell at his feet. This was the answer given by Periyanambi. Now these same Shishyas, they went and they asked Ramanuja, okay, fine, he fell at your feet, but you are the Shishya. You should have said, no, 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 don't do this. Don't fall at my feet. You should have acknowledged it in some way. Or you would have said, okay, you have fallen, but this is not correct. I do not accept your obeisance. Or something like that. You should have shown that you are the Shishya. Why did you not do that? Why did you just keep quiet and then just quietly move on without any reaction at all? They asked. So Ramanuja said, if I had to say, no, 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 you please don't do namaskar for me, or I had to say that, why are you doing this? I cannot accept your obeisance. That means I accepted that. That means I am aware that I am the Shishya and he's treating me like a guru, and I am aware that he has done something. But what is my bhava? Whatever he wants to do, he has done. I must stay detached from that. I must not get affected. If I think that he is not supposed to do for me and all, that means I have taken up that action that he has done. I do not want to get any involvement with that action. He is free to do whatever he wants. And my only response is to not react to that. So this was this exemplary relationship that they shared, both of them. Another situation, it is told, at one point of time when all the Shishyas, everybody was in Sri Rangam, Ramanuja was also in Sri Rangam. For some reason, there was some news that had come about Kanchipuram, there being some trouble. So this Tirukachi Nambi, whom Ramanuja considered as one of his acharyas also, who had guided him when he was in Kanchipuram. So Ramanuja was worried about whether Tirukachi Nambi is in a good condition, what has happened to him, like that, because they heard some news about some events there which were not so good and like that. So when his Shishyas were all sitting with him and in that Goshti, he asked, I am worried about Swami Ram, about Tirukachi Nambi and all. I wish one of you would go and find out what is happening in Kanchipuram. Is somebody willing to go and so on? Although he asked openly like that, nobody stood up and took the onus. Nobody said, I will go, I will find out. No one was willing to do that, right? They heard Swami Ramanuja asking openly, and yet nobody agreed to that. Periyanambi was not in this sabha. He was not there at all. But somehow he came to know about it. He realized that Ramanuja's wish is that he wants to find out about Tirukachinami. Now, in those days, they didn't have any communication means. You want to find out something about some place, you have to walk and go there and come back, and then only you will know, isn't it? So next day, what he did was, but however, he knew that Ramanuja will not agree to letting him go. So next day, what happened? Very casually, as if it was unconnected, he went to Ramanuja and he told him, see, I just wanted to inform you. I don't know why I'm feeling that strong desire to go and see Lord Varada at Kanchipuram. So I'm going there. I just wanted to inform you. And he went. Ramanuja was surprised. Yesterday itself, I was asking about somebody going to Kanchipuram, and none of these people agreed. How did my Acharya know about it? But he kept quiet. As soon as Periyanambi went to Kanchipuram, the only thing he did was he went to the house of Tirukachinambi, and he found out from his Shishyas and from him that how is he, how are things, how is everything okay. They said, yes, yes, everything is fine. Then they said, why don't you come? We are going to the temple. You come and take darshan of the Lord. Then they told him, you stay for another 1 or 2 days. We are very shortly going to have some utsava of the Lord. You please attend that and go now that you have come all this way. At once, he said, Periyanambi said, no, no, I only came here to find out about the state of Tirugachinambi because Ramanuja wanted to know. He wanted to confirm that everything is fine with him. I have done that work. Now I have no need either to see Varada or to wait for the Utsavas. I am going back. And he came back. And he conveyed to Ramanuja that everything is fine, Tirukachinambi is fine. There is no problem at all there. Can you imagine when the Shishyas of Ramanuja did not want to go, although their Acharya was asking them openly that I want one of you to go, but this person who is older in age and who is the Acharya of Ramanuja, he went and he did not even make it like a big thing that I am going and I will find out and come. No, very quietly, without letting on to his true intention, he went and he came back. So what was it? What quality was it? This bhava that I want to always be dasa of a dasa. You remember we have talked about this in many previous satsangs, right? Even Kulashekar Alvar has sung about it. Nammalvar has sung about it. And so many places it is told that it is very easy to be a servant of God, but to be a servant of the bhakta of the Lord is very difficult because it requires you to suppress your ego in front of another human being. That is something which Periyanambi had achieved completely. And with this bhava, he went to find out. For everything, he always would look to Acharya. When his daughter got married and she went to her in law's place and they were complaining that, oh, your father has not sent a servant maid with you to do all the housework. And when she came to him and complained, he told her, I have nothing to do with these things. Your Acharya is Ramanuja. Go and ask him about it. And Ramanuja gave a very unique solution. We don't have time to talk about that today, but we will look at that maybe in some other satsang. Now, another very poignant episode in the life of this Periyanambi is, I told you that when he was studying under Yamunacharya, he had many guru brothers, his brothers, right, together with him, other Shishyas. So one of them was a person called Maraneri Nambi. Now this Maraneri Nambi also did not belong to the Brahmana Varna. He was some other caste, one of the lower castes, you can say. Now, when this Maraneri Nambi was about to die, he was a very good friend of Periyanambi. So he told Periyanambi that, see, once I die, all these years I have been attached and I have been dedicated to my Acharya. And I have followed all the principles which are told in this Vishishtadvaita. And once I have surrendered to the Lord and everything, just because I have died for the final rites, I don't want anybody to give my body to my relatives because those people are worthless. They don't have any interest, any inclination for any kind of spiritual practice. So when I have lived my entire life like this with Shraddha towards my Guru, I don't want that my final rite should be performed by those people who have absolutely no inkling at all of any kind of adhyatmic interest. So please make sure that my body does not fall into their hands. He made Periyanambi promise this. So when Maraneri Nambi died, when he gave up his body, this Periyanambi stood there. He made all the arrangements and he was the one who lighted the pyre. Okay? Now, there was a very big hangama there because how can somebody do this? You are in this sampradaya. You are a Shishya of Alavandar, of Yamunacharya. You are the Acharya of Ramanujacharya. You have such an exalted position. And in caste, you are higher to that Maraneri Nambi. How could you have stood there and done his funeral rites? That was the question that all the Brahmanas in that place put to him and all the other Shishyas put to him. He said, no. They in fact didn't go to him, sorry. They went to Ramanuja and complained that how can your Acharya do such a thing? Why don't you take him to task? So what Swami Ramanuja did, he understood very well what was the bhava of Periyanambi. But because he wanted all the people to understand also, he called a sabha. All these people who were complaining came there. And this Periyanambi also was asked to come there. And there the question was posed to him by Ramanuja. So at that point of time, when Ramanuja asked the question, Periyanambi just said one thing. Have you forgotten what Nammalvar has told in his works? Have you forgotten the words of Nammalvar? What is most important? What caste are we bothered about? For somebody who is a Shishya, for somebody who has been initiated into the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, there is no caste other than the caste of being a Bhakta. We are not bothered about their caste in worldly life. And for us, somebody who is a Bhakta is our own brother. So in keeping with those words of Nammalvar, I am pretty sure that that is exactly what my Acharya would have advised also. And that is why I performed the final rites. Going further, he gave another example. He said, have you forgotten that in Ramayana, we have seen how when Jatayu, who fought Ravana to save Sita, he tried very hard, but he couldn't succeed. And he was terribly wounded. When Rama came there, finally giving him the information, this Jatayu was, he was about to give up his life. At that time, Rama held him lovingly in his lap. And when Jatayu passed away, Rama performed the funeral rites for him. Now, same kind of situation you consider as mine. Am I greater than Rama? Is this Maraneri Nambi lower and more inferior than Jatayu? If Rama could perform the rites for Jatayu, what is wrong in me performing the rites for Maraneri Nambi? What, uh, uh, what qualification did Jatayu have? Has he done any great sadhana? Has he done jnana, karma, bhakti, any yoga has he practiced? He's an animal. He's not even a human being. He's a bird. And still, because of his bhakti for the Lord only performed his final rites. I am not greater than Rama, nor is Maraneri Nambi lower than Jatayu. So it's absolutely correct for me to do this. Similarly, when Vidura died, Yudhishthira performed the rites for him. Am I bigger than Yudhishthira? Is Maraneri Nambi lower than Vidura? When that can be happened, when this has happened, that has happened, what is wrong in me doing the final rites for Maraneri Nambi? Now, although Ramanuja understood and a few of the Shishyas understood, many of them, they still disagreed. And so what they started doing is they kind of started avoiding, boycotting this Periyanambi. Whenever he went to the temple, they would move away. If he went somewhere, they would not talk to him, they would turn their face and go away. So they made it very obvious to him. And he was in deep pain by all this treatment. One day, it was time for what is called as the Rathotsava of Lord Ranganatha at Sri Rangam. So that Utsava Murti is called Namperumal. Every year it was the norm that Ratha would come, that Rathotsava time, that Ratha, the chariot carrying the Lord, would come and stop in front of this Periyanambi's house. He would be accorded all the honors. He would offer worship to the Lord. He would be given the Tirtha and Prasada, the Shatari, and then only the chariot for him. Now this time the Lord decided to teach everybody a lesson. So the chariot moved very nicely everywhere and came, and when it came in front of Periyanambi's house, actually those corrupt temple administrators had decided that we will pull that chariot so fast without even stopping in front of his house, because he does not deserve all this respect. He has done something which is against our this thing. So when the chariot, but who is bigger? Is it the people who are pulling the chariot, or is it the Lord who is sitting in that chariot? The minute the chariot reached there, whatever they were doing, that chariot refused to move. It was just not moving ahead. And only finally, when somebody suggested, some elderly persons who had a lot of jnana suggested that please give Tirtha, Shatari and everything to Periyanambi, and only then the Lord will move. The minute that was done, very easily that Rathotsava, that Ratha moved ahead and went on. So this was the great affection that the Lord himself had for Periyanambi. Now we talked on the first day of the satsang about Kuratalvan and how he went to that Chola king's court to protect this sampradaya, right? At that time, this Periyanambi, who was very old, he was beyond his 80s and older, and yet he went with Kuratalvan. And there he was tortured like anything. Kuratalvan poked his eyes and blinded himself. This Periyanambi was blinded by the king, and also he was tortured very badly. Already he was very old and he was tortured so much. So what happened is, then they were set free. At that time, when they were walking from that place of that court towards Sri Rangam to return back, it became quite obvious that he will not survive. Periyanambi will not survive further. He is going to die very soon. He is going to shed his mortal body very soon. And at that time, his daughter and Kuratalvan were with him. So they were trying to tell him that come, he was trying and walking very slowly, but he was walking somehow. Then this daughter and Kuratalvan told him that please try and walk little faster. Let us make sure that we reach Sri Rangam soon. So he asked them, why are you bothered about reaching Sri Rangam soon? So they said, you are also understanding, we are also understanding that you may not survive for very long. So let us make sure that you reach Sri Rangam so that you give up your life in Sri Rangam, because it is a Divya Desha, because it is a holy place. All along this time, Periyanambi had been walking at least with some effort. Now what he did is, he said, I'm very tired, I want to sit down here on. And he sat off. The minute he sat down there, they were trying to coax him that please try, come, let us go. So he said, your whole argument itself is wrong. I am not going to come to Sri Rangam to die. Because it is told every time that if we die, whichever place a Sri Vaishnava is living and wherever he exists, that place itself is a holy place. That Sri Vaishnava is such that he purifies the place wherever he is. Now here I have with me Kuratalvan, who is a very great Sri Vaishnava. And I have you, my daughter, Attulai, who is also a Sri Vaishnava. In the presence of both of you, if I can give up this Deha and if I get moksha, doesn't it mean that this itself is the Divya Desha? After having lived all my life by the teachings of my Acharya, if I run now to Sri Rangam and say that I will die only in Sri Rangam, then that means that moksha does not depend on whether the Lord is granting you or not. It means that moksha is given because of the place where you are, isn't it? But that is not the tattva. That is not what our acharyas have taught us. What our acharyas have taught us, that you will get moksha by the grace of the Lord. And if you are a Sri Vaishnava, then whichever place you are, that itself is a holy place. So I don't want to convey a wrong message. I have lived all my life in keeping with the teachings of my acharyas, which is that the Lord is the supreme decider of granting moksha. He is the supreme authority. And it is not required that we should be in a holy place and die to get moksha. Wherever we are, if the Lord grants it to us, we will get moksha. And wherever place a Sri Vaishnava is there, that itself is a Divya Desha. That itself is a holy place. I want to teach this, and that immense learning we can get even in the death of this great person, Periyanambi. So he said, like Jatayu died in the lap of Rama, I am dying in the lap of Kuratalvan. So there is no greater person for me. There is no greater place for me. This itself is the right time and the right place. And there, lying in the lap with his head in the lap of Kuratalvan and his feet in the lap of his daughter, he gave up his mortal body. So throughout his life, he lived by this nishtha to the sampradaya and lot of nishtha towards his shishya also. And in his death also, he conveyed the same important message to us. So let us offer gratitude that we have had such great acharyas. We've reached the end of our time as usual. So we will end with Kritagnyata. Let us offer gratitude to the great Acharya Parampara, and because of whom we are able to learn about these high truths. Let us offer gratitude to the commentators who have explained these meanings, and let us offer gratitude at the lotus feet of Krishna and Guru for inspiring us to join and, be part of this satsang. Let their grace and blessings be on us always. I'm very grateful to all of you also for joining in. Although it was delayed and all this thing happened with all so much rain and there's so much confusion, but still we were able to join and be a part of this, katha of this satsang. So let us be grateful for that. We will meet again tomorrow, probably mostly at 6:30 itself. Thank you very much. Namaskar.